stakes are rising even higher in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, with the Moscow now observing that Finland's NATO bid is a definite threat. Kremlin has vowed on what it calls retaliatory steps over any further attempts at membership. Meanwhile, the global economy teeters on the brink of shrinking further, with supply chain challenges and soaring inflation everywhere else. But in Ukraine itself, the fighting grows even more fierce as the Russian forces want complete control of key territorial advantages. Joining us now to give us an idea of whether peace is anywhere close, anywhere in sight, is Russian ambassador to South Africa, Ilya Igorevich Rogachev. Ambassador, good evening, and thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight here on In Focus. Let's begin with the latest leading story, I suppose, is that Sweden as well as Finland are looking particularly closer now to joining the alliance in the coming days. In fact, that announcement expected to be made even as early as this Sunday. What is your reaction to that as Russia?
Well, we think that this could be a pretty unfortunate decision. We never felt a serious threat emanating from these countries to Russia, I mean military threat, and I don't think that population of these countries has ever, since after the Second World War, has ever felt a serious military threat for them from the Russian Federation. And so there was a kind of arrangement, security arrangement in this part of the world, and I had the impression that everything seemed to be okay. Now, if such decisions are to be taken in these countries, that will seriously change the security landscape for Russia, obviously. And obviously, we will have to take appropriate measures in order to counter such threats. Yeah. And of course, these measures will be mostly of a military, technical military nature. And that would, in turn, create new threats for Finland and Sweden, as we will consider all military installations deployed by NATO, all NATO forces in these countries as an imminent threat for the Russian Federation, given the current political situation.
Now, the ministry in Finland saying that their view of your military operation in Ukraine is a clear sign that Russia is prepared and willing to use reckless and brutal military force against its non-allied neighbors without provocation to further its expansionist agenda. This is why they are taking this decision. How do you respond to that?
Well, this statement is just a pile of lies. Now, first of all, of course, any military force is brutal and can be characterized in many different ways. And it also pertains to Finnish military or Swedish military or NATO military. And as for the unprovoked, or as it is often labeled, the special military operation in Ukraine by the Russian military as unprovoked and without any reason, this is not so at all. And we have explained ourselves at length, and we have demonstrated on many, many different elements why this operation was launched. And many people in the world, unbiased observers, political commentators, military experts, politicians, including at the highest level, understand that very well. And I'm pretty much sure that in the Finnish ministry, they also understand that very well. And they simply, there is a political will to go into a certain direction. And for that purpose, whatever reasons we present, whatever explanations we provide would be disregarded, and they will just follow that course.
Yeah. What do you make of the new footage that has emerged showing 2 Russian soldiers shooting unarmed Ukrainian soldiers that's currently circulating on international media?
I haven't seen it. I'm sorry. I can just say that if it is not a fake, if it is not a stage video, which we have seen a lot recently in the past 2 months, beginning with the episode in so-called Bucha village, but also up to the fact that CNN showed a picture from an online game showing allegedly Russian fighter bomber landing on, which was hit by brave Ukrainians, landing on a highway. But what they forgot to do, they forgot to erase 2 white figures from the screen. They moved around this allegedly Russian fighter bomber, and the 2 figures were these troopers that were cloned in the Star Wars saga.
All right.
So they forgot to erase those. And you see, so there are many things like that. A lot of such staged videos were debunked, beginning with Bucha, Mariupol, a drama theater in Mariupol, hospital in Mariupol, attack on a railroad station in Kramatorsk. So a lot of these are fakes.
So
now,
this one again is a video that is obtained, Ambassador, by CNN. They're saying this is the latest evidence of the Russian war crime in Ukraine. They're showing 2 Ukrainian civilians who were killed by Russian soldiers after they were frisked for cigarettes. This is CCTV video, and these are employees of a car dealership outside Kyiv who were just walking away from a checkpoint.
Yes, I was not trying to say that such incidents do not happen. There are criminals among any military. I cannot deny that, but I'm calling on the audience to take these pictures critically, not to believe everything you're being shown on the TV screen, because this is exactly the purpose of such actions, just to impress people, to make them react emotionally instead of analyzing rationally what is going on, why it is going on, and how it can end.
The European Commission, still staying with the international response, said that it would work with EU governments to help Ukraine export millions of tons of grain stuck in the country because of the Russian Navy that is blocking Ukraine ports. Is this part of your military operation to block the ports?
I'm not part of the Russian military HQ. I do not know whether it is part or not. I certainly know that we're trying not to harm civilian infrastructure and not to harm civilians, and to act, to use force only when it is strictly necessary to neutralize military targets. Now, we know for sure that lots of grain being exported from Ukraine, in particular by railroad, in several directions, to the west, to Poland, to Romania, and actually, well, yes, it is an issue because Ukraine is a major exporter of wheat in particular. So their regular buyers are interested in having these crops.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the case of Vadim Shaishamirin, who is accused of killing an unarmed 62-year-old civilian whose first trial is going to be held, is the first war crime trial of a Russian soldier?
Yes, I've heard of it. I'm just very sorry that Ukraine hasn't proceeded with a single criminal case, beginning with the burning alive of 42 people in Odessa in 1914, in May, and up to the very recent cases when they fired a tactical rocket to the railroad station in Kramatorsk in particular, killing about 50 persons, and so on. I'm not talking about thousands of civilians whom they call Ukrainians, actually, as they used to be, in Donbass, in both Lugansk and Donetsk Republic. And nobody has been punished for such crimes. I'm not talking about them shooting and torturing Russian prisoners of war, the pictures of which you could also have seen, yeah, probably. So I'm very sorry that there are no criminal cases in that direction. They are not punishing their own military. They're Nazis, like from battalion of Azov and others. And I'm very sorry that media are not talking about these cases.
Yeah, is Russia at all worried about the human impact that this operation militarily is having in Ukraine?
Yes, we're very worried about that. This is tragedy. Many Russians take it very seriously and emotionally as well. And because we still think that Ukrainians are our brothers and sisters, and we were compelled to conduct this operation, this special military operation, due to a number of circumstances, security threats and so on. We do our best not to harm civilians, as I said. Russia has received about 100 million of the refugees from Ukrainian territory. Again, very few media mentioned that, very few instances. Organizations, including United Nations, mentioned that from overall more than 5 million, we accepted more than 1 million of the Ukrainian refugees. And Russia has provided a lot of humanitarian assistance, a very big volume of humanitarian assistance to the areas, to the population in the areas that is under control of the Russian military. Yeah. And I barely heard of any military assistance coming from the West, EU, for example.
Now, the U.S. is proposing, in fact, pushing for more aid for Kiev. The U.S. House approving $40 billion for more aid in Kiev. Do you see this as, I suppose, as a perpetuation and continuation of the conflict that is going on, or do you see it as something that is helpful in this conflict?
Of course, we do not see it as something helpful for Ukrainian population. It is helpful, exactly as you put it, to prolong this conflict, to prolong hostilities. So more people would die and more damage will be inflicted in material sense. But I should mention that Ukraine has been receiving a massive military and financial assistance, which could have been used for much more useful purposes. Just imagine $40 billion, what would have been done in Africa, for example, for this money. But it will all, it's just like adding fuel to the fire of this conflict, and for very unfortunate decision.
Yeah, but
unfair to many people in the world.
Yeah, the U.S. seems to believe that the people need this kind of supplies. People are dying there. They're running out of supplies. They need help, and they need this help very, very quickly, and it needs to be sped up.
But this is, if not exclusively, then predominantly military assistance we're talking about. This $40 billion will be spent to supply Ukraine with an obsolete arms that the United States Army needs to get rid of. This is what's been happening so far. This is the West supplies Ukraine with the weapons they do not need. and they write off massively these supplies, and they make new orders to the industrial military complex. This is the biggest beneficiary, of this help. We are not talking about some useful stuff for the peaceful population, for the civilians. We're talking about military hardware.
Right. What do you make, Ambassador, as we let you go, of the comments of the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres? He says, this war will not last forever. There will be time when peace negotiations will take place. I don't see that in the immediate future, but I can say one thing, we will never give up.
Well, I hope that the main thrust of his words, that he's right with this. This conflict will not last forever. Our military operation has limited goals. We have earmarked just a fraction of Russian military to carry it out. We hope that finally there will be a solution to that, peaceful solution, of course. But not everybody thinks so. For example, the head of EU diplomacy, Josep Borrell, recently said that this conflict can be resolved only on the battlefield. It is a very strange statement by a so high-ranking diplomat.
Ambassador, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.